back to Grilling is My Business, a cooking show for people who suck at cooking but also like heavy metal, want to listen to heavy metal while they cook, and want to learn how to do things pretty easily. We're getting there. Tagline's getting there. So I was originally going to grill something today. Unfortunately, Mother Nature decided to start pissing it down, so it is starting to rain a lot, and I just decided I didn't want to film in the rain and damage my stuff. So instead, we're going to stay inside and make some comfort food. Now, I know that anytime it snows or it rains, I like something that I can hold in a bowl, preferably a soup or like a rice dish, something like that. So today we are going to make chicken and dumplings. This is something that my parents make all the time, and it's something that I've never really given a fair shake at. So what I'm going to do is try and do this as easily as possible. So we're going to break out the crock pot yet again, and we're going to do a very simple chicken and dumplings. It's not going to look as fancy as a lot of other stuff. It's probably going to look like a goddamn mess, but whatever, it should still taste pretty damn good. So in order to make chicken and dumplings, you are going to need the following: chicken, celery, an onion, these 4 spices, corn, chicken broth, garlic, cream of chicken soup, and biscuits. Now, as per usual, we are going to do a heavy metal themed playlist that kind of coincides with what we're cooking. Unfortunately, we just recently did chicken gumbo, which had enough of a southern twang to it. Not sure if I want to do just another southern rock or southern metal playlist just yet. So let me see some more about this. Chicken and dumplings, comfort food dish, only found in the southern Midwestern United States. Also attributed to being a French-Canadian meal. So we can do Canadian artists instead. That's all the excuse I need to play some Devin Townsend. I got into Devin Townsend project pretty late. I was in college, and my college station got a copy of his album Addicted, and I pretty much instantly fell in love with it. And then I find out that it's the same guy who did Strapping Young Lad, which is a band I never got into in high school. And I immediately regretted that, because Strapping Young Lad is awesome. Some of the best metal albums of the past 20 years. And the song Love, I remember hearing in passing, but never actually fully enjoying until later in my life. And there's so many amazing layers to this song that it's, it's obviously like a song about love, and you can't tell exactly whether it's supportive or against it the more times you listen to it. Clearly the person in the song wants it, but also they are doing nothing but pointing out its flaws. So it's kind of weird. Devin Townsend is an amazing songwriter. I think he's one of the best people in terms of using the wall of sound, and also he just experiments and throws crap against the wall. Listen to his last album, Empath, and it is just nothing but crazy ass sounds being put together. Now, I'm going a little off script here because they said that you should use some chicken breasts for this. I'm actually going to try using leftover chicken thighs and just debone them myself. I want to try and see if it has a different taste, because I'm not going to lie to you, I have made this before. I did a test run last week, came out pretty nice. But I want to see if there's a difference in taste, or if it ruins the dish, or makes it any different. Because in general, I do like dark meat better than white. So I'm just going to take the skin off and use the thighs that were left over from the gumbo. So this is another one of those situations where most of the cooking involves prep work. So it's going to be a lot of steps and then a lot of waiting. So while we're still prepping everything, let's keep it going with the playlist and put on some KATAKLYSM. KATAKLYSM's really great at taking a heavy, defined sound and kind of evolving it over time. There have been a lot of different incarnations of the band, but every one that I've listened to has had its own special, tint to it that makes it fantastic. The album, In the Arms of Devastation, is probably the best introduction into the band you could probably get. But I do think that their live album is what solidified everything for me. And when I heard them play the song Where the Enemy Sleeps, I was thinking to myself, this is a band I could find myself getting very, very lost in. So pick them up if you get a chance. So you're going to put the onions on the bottom, creating some sort of bed. and then you're just going to layer all of the rest of the chicken directly on top of it. So you're going to season that whole top layer with oregano, salt, and pepper, depending on how you want it to taste, and you're going to top it off with the cream of chicken soup and the broth right on top. Not going to lie, the cream of chicken soup is going to look kind of gross, but that's just kind of how it goes. Then you're just going to put some thyme on the top and a single bay leaf, cover that pot up, set it on high, and let it sit there for 3 hours. So just a little bit more prep work involved in this. You're just going to use a little bit more celery and some corn. You can use canned corn, it doesn't really matter. A lot of people prefer to use, instead of corn, peas and carrots if they want to make it more like a pot pie type dish. I think that corn's good enough. I don't want to take a lot of flavor away from the gravy, so I'm just going to add some celery. It asks for 3 cloves of garlic, so naturally we're going to use 4. And we're going to add the rest of the ingredients in a bit. So while I'm prepping this, let's move on to another song and talk about Unleash the Archers for the 50th time. Not a lot I could say about Unleash the Archers that I haven't already touched upon, but if you haven't heard any of our ramblings on Shred Shack Radio, we love the band. They're a Canadian power metal band fronted by Brittany Slays, who we've had the opportunity to interview at least 3 times. She's been amazing every time. Basically, they took a really strong approach with their last album, Apex, where they just did the whole thing as a concept album about a creature that kind of gets trapped away for centuries and is only awakened by like a witch and does her bidding and then goes back to sleep. It's a crazy, crazy album, and I really recommend it. The opening track on it, Awakening, I think is one of those songs where like you hear it the first time and you just feel like you kind of choked up when you hear it. When that chorus hit, man, I loved this song. And I've always liked the band, so I was glad to see that they're still putting out good music. And check out our Best of 2019 video if you want to hear our thoughts on stuff like when they did the cover of Northwest Passage. Oh wait, I didn't actually edit that video yet. I am so behind on stuff. It's not even funny. So after 3 hours, everything's going to kind of sort to boil together, but what you're going to want to do now is actually take the chicken out so that you can shred it up and put it into pieces. So we're going to take every piece out. First, make sure that it's cooked. It looks pretty cooked to me. So just going to take it, put it on, well, and we're just going to literally pull out every piece. If you pull out some of the soup, that's fine. On this last piece that I'm pulling out, you can see the meat is actually completely separating from the bone, which is kind of what I wanted. That's kind of why I wanted to try it with the thighs instead of the breasts. So I'm glad to know that this is already working out pretty perfectly. So shredding chicken is, for some reason, one of those things in the kitchen that I really suck at. Never comes out the way that I want to. So I'm going to need a distraction for this. So let's put on some Protest the Hero. I like most of Protest the Hero's catalog. There have been some times where, honestly, they've put out releases and it's taken me years to get to them, but some of their albums are absolutely incredible. I actually got a free copy of their album Kezia in college because the college radio station was desperate for people and they were begging everyone to join. So they were like, come on, like, you know, we'll give you a free CD if you sign up for our club. So we got a lot of free music that way. But Protest the Hero is fantastic because they really combine all the progressive, crazy elements that you find in math metal without any of the like stuff that like confuses or, you know, infuriates the casual listener. It's not overly complicated. It's not something you got to pay attention to 24/7 in order to understand where the time signatures are coming from. It's just very simplified progressive metal, and their sound can be kind of all over the place, but I think that's what I like about them. They really don't have one song that sounds like the other, and I think Tilting Against the Windmills has become my favorite song of theirs, just because there's one section in there that I've focused on before where everything drops out and they just scream, "Father, forgive me," and everything collects together, but the whole song itself is really, really fun. So Protest the Hero is great if you've got like 20 minutes to kill and you really want to listen to something crazy. Well, it's a good thing I added an extra piece of chicken in there, because I'm probably going to eat the equivalent of one just tearing this crap apart. So you're going to add the rest of the vegetables and the chicken into it, and you're just going to mix everything together so it congeals into one giant mess. And then you're going to add the most important aspect, the biscuits. Here's a fun fact. I have never opened a pack of biscuits without scaring the crap out of myself. So let's see if this is any different. Ah, son of a bitch. So you're going to take the biscuits, and for each slice, you're going to cut it into 4 separate pieces, and then you're just going to take the entire can's worth and dump it into the mixture. Then mix everything together for one final time. It's alright if some of the things just kind of stay on the top. You just want to make sure that they're still covered by the sauce. And then you are going to put the lid on this and cook it for another hour. So, this is the last song in the playlist, so if we're talking Canada and we're talking metal, we gotta talk about my absolute favorite, 3 Inches of Blood. I was devastated when 3 Inches of Blood broke up. They were one of my favorite bands, not only to hear on the albums, but also to see live. They put so much energy into their material, and they usually toured with bands that did the same traditional, like, hardcore, you know, two-step breakdown type mentality. 3 Inches of Blood would travel with these bands, and they would kind of just sing about fighting orcs, and, you know, they would do tribute songs to Ronnie James Dio. These guys were a lot of fun. And one of my absolute favorite songs from them is the first track off of their album Long Live Heavy Metal, which was one of my absolute favorite albums that I reviewed. Metal Woman is such a great song. That beautiful introduction, that crazy scream that drives you right into it, the guitar solo, the pounding outro. I absolutely love this song, and I tell everybody to listen to it whether they listen to heavy metal or not. Alright, time to lift that pot and see what we're dealing with here. Oh man, that looks great. It's gonna look sloppy as hell, but that's just by design. Just give it a good twist or two. You can see that all the dumpling pieces have kind of melted into the rest of it, so when you pour it up like this, you get a big spoonful of dumpling, chicken, corn, celery, everything all in one. And we're just gonna let this sit for a second and pour ourselves a bowl. So after a good 4 hours of cooking, we finally have a bowl of chicken and dumplings. Perfectly proportioned, got a little bit of everything in this bowl. I am really pumped to taste this. Ooh, that is hot. That is hot. I'll be honest with you, I have not eaten all day today. I just felt that like travel right down to my stomach. It is the best feeling in the world. Chicken and dumplings is like pure comfort food. It's the perfect thing to eat on a cold, rainy day. It takes a while to make, but it is totally worth it. And if you are going to make it like I did in the crock pot, there's a couple things you need to know. First of all, it will keep for days. The last time I made this, I actually was able to keep it for about a week. The second thing about this is that if you are going to have more than one bowl of it, wait 15 minutes in between each one, because you will eat a lot of this at once. It's delicious, but it's literally a can of bread poured into gravy, chicken, and vegetables. It will sit in your stomach like a lead pellet, and it will just lay there. So be careful if you're gonna be going for seconds. That's all I'm gonna say about this, but I am very happy with how this came out. This is a really simple way to make it. There are other ways to make it that involve a little bit more baking. You can have the biscuits stay on the top so that they get crispy, but I like this method of just kind of mixing in everything together and then devouring it at once. It's kind of fantastic. So I'm going to continue eating this, and I'm going to enjoy the rest of this. If you like this recipe, you could check it out in the description below if you want to follow it along by yourself. And next time we will be making something a little bit more casual. Till then, I'm Pat Gessner. Thanks for watching, and remember, grilling is my business, and business is food. Hot. Good, but hot.